Hello and welcome to my Throne of Thunder raid guide. My name is Aliena, and in this video I'll show you all you have to know about heroic Horridon. I'll assume you know how to kill the normal version of this fight and will only go over what changes for the heroic mode. We completed this fight with 2 tanks, 2 healers and 6 DPS, but similar raid configurations may work just as well. Horridon should be tanked parallel to the ranged raid members, so if a raid member gets charged they can easily run to Horridon's tank's position. This avoids having the rest of your raid having to move out of the subsequent double swipe and also limits Horridon's movement, making the fight easier for your tank. While Horridon of course has a lot more health in his heroic version, that is not the difficult part of this encounter. The most obvious change you will notice from the normal version is an ability called jin'rokh that Horridon uses once every 60 seconds. This deals about 250k damage to your entire raid, but more notably it spawns a pink dinosaur called a jin'rokh spirit. The spirit will fixate on a random raid member and slowly move towards them until the encounter is over. If the dino reaches and hits the person they're fixated on, they'll get hit for about 600k and they'll likely die. The dino can be kept at a distance by hitting it with any ability. It is incredibly important that every raid member has a general idea on how to keep their dino away from them. Only 1 dino spawns per 1 jin'rokh. They will first spawn on ranged raid members, then on the healers, then on melee, and lastly on the tanks. Only the person affected by the dino can see it, though other raid members can see a pair of eyes over raid members that have a dino. Provided you have at least 3 or 4 ranged DPS, your healers should not start getting dinos until the 3rd door, and your melee won't start getting them until the 4th door. The tanks might get dinos at the very end of the encounter during the burn phase, and must be ready to move away from their dino if that happens. Personally, I like taking Mindbender for this fight solely to pop it on my dino. A Mindbender cast gives about 30 seconds of dino respite, and the other 30 seconds until the cooldown is back up can be handled fairly easily with Solas and Penance and the occasional smite here and there. Other than the dinos, Horridon's difficulty lies almost solely in handling the adds. Without a good add priority and enough gear to handle the adds efficiently, your rate will fall behind and get overwhelmed fairly quickly. As such, Horridon is a gear and an execution check. The following adds have the utmost killing priority: Faraki Wastewalkers, Gurubashi Venom Priests and subsequent venomous effusions, Drakari Frozen Warlords, Amani Beast Shamans, and the Zandalari Dinomancers. You should have a reliable DPS marking the kill targets. If multiple bad adds are up at a time, it's very important that all your DPS burns down the same one as soon as possible. While any other adds must die in a timely manner as well, they are of a lesser priority than the ones just mentioned. Wastewalkers will drop sand traps. On heroic difficulty, a sand trap will kill in about 2 hits. Melee are especially susceptible to this. Since they also grow in size and take over a good part of the arena, you want to limit them as much as possible. On top of that, Blazing Sunlight, the magic debuff that barely hurts on normal, can kill pretty quickly on heroic. If you have a priest in your raid, you might want to make use of Mass Dispel for these. Gurubashi Venom Priests use Venom Bolt Volley. This must be interrupted. You should set up an interruption chain of 2 people for both a primary and a secondary Venom Priest ahead of time. If a Venom Priest lives long enough, he'll spawn a Venomous Effusion. Effusions cast Venom Bolt Volley as well, so you might want to assign an emergency interrupt for those. Worse though, they spawn Living Poisons, which are moving poison pools on the ground that deal 200k damage every second. Your melee must be aware of those, and if an Effusion is about to drop one, your entire melee team must move from their position as soon as possible to avoid taking any ticks. Drakari Frozen Warlords spawn frozen orbs that kill a player within about 3 seconds if they're within its vicinity. Warriors and champions will randomly attack players and put deadly plague on them, which needs to be dispelled. If you're overwhelmed by the diseases and you have a Mistweaver in your raid team, it might be worth using a Revival after the store. Revival will remove all currently active diseases. On door 4, you'll be greeted by 3 warbears that jump down from the stands. First, you'll only have to deal with 1. Later on, 2 will jump down at a time. Once a warbear is defeated, its rider, a beast shaman, will become active. You never want to have more than 1 beast shaman active, so you have to time your bear kills. Kill a bear, then kill its rider, kill another bear, then kill that one's rider. Beast Shamans drop totems that inflict 400k damage every 3 seconds to players within their range, so they need to be avoided at all costs. They also cast Hex of Confusion, which has a chance on spell or ability cast to inflict 100k damage. People that get targeted by the Hex must watch their health closely and cease using spells or abilities if their health drops low, until they are either dispelled or healed back up. This is especially important if a jin'rokh cast coincides with the Hexes. Dinomancers, as always, attempt to heal Horridon when above 50% health, which must be interrupted, and they drop an orb at 50% health that lets you stun Horridon. A minute after the 4th crash, or at 30% health, which is rather unlikely on heroic mode, Wargoth Jalek spawns. As normal, Jalek must be burned down as soon as possible. This is a good time to pop Bloodlust or Heroism. You will most likely have a dire call coincide with a bestial cry during this phase, and raid cooldowns such as Spirit Shell, Tranquility, etc. should be employed for this. Once Jalek is dead, Horridon will deal 100% more damage and attack 50% faster. This is actually kind of a big deal on heroic difficulty, as it applies to Horridon's triple puncture and dire call abilities as well. Your tank should have a cooldown active for every triple puncture cast, whether it's an external or a personal one. This must be communicated and pre-assigned. You will likely have a triple puncture coincide with a dire call cast. This can easily kill a tank, so be ready to employ your strongest cooldowns for this and spam heal the tank. The rate will get healed up over time and should not take any damage outside of the dire call cast anyway, so tanks must be the utter healing priority. It's worth noting that if you have at least 2 paladins in your raid, you can have one tank full-time on Horridon and just bubble off the triple puncture stacks after each door. We had our paladin tank start out tanking Horridon until door 1's ads pop. Then our druid took over tanking Horridon while the paladin tanks the ads. We did this for every door, bubbling off our druid stacks as appropriate. This gave us much better ad control. If you're currently having a lot of trouble on this fight, it is useful to know that even just adding a few item levels on your raid members will make it much easier to meet the DPS requirement on the ads. If you haven't done them yet, Tortoise and Jikun should be easier targets. I'm putting a link to the whole encounter into the video info in case you want to see how we dealt with the various mechanics in detail. Good luck and have fun!